What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some Destiny 2 and Bungie news in this one. Of course, given what's taken place over the last week or so surrounding Marathon, the art theft controversy, yeah, there are a few things going on behind the scenes there, and a couple of reports which give some extra details, so we'll touch on that. Otherwise, Bungie offer updates for Destiny 2, some changes that are going live at the moment, but they also speak about Edge of Fate's sandbox tuning, and specifically a couple of weapons and items that'll see some changes there. We'll talk about all of those. They also clarify some things about upcoming content and the roadmap. Plus another reveal for Destiny, which is coming up soon, actually for Destiny Rising this time, and we're set to get more info about that in the very near future. So if you guys enjoy the video, then be sure to get subscribed and I can keep you up to date with everything relating to the game. Otherwise though, let's get into it. And so first up, now that Ghosts of the Deep is featured inside of Ride of the Nine, keep in mind, Bungie did say increases to Nonary Manifold currency drops are now live and apply to all Ride of the Nine dungeons moving forward. So more of that currency ultimately means more weapons. They'd also said last week, an update has been applied to enable weapon drops from enemies defeated within Spire of the Watcher dungeon. This is actually the intention for all dungeons moving forward, but in the near term, they'll actually apply to the second week that the dungeon is featured. So right now we have sort of standard weapon drops in Ghosts of the Deep, but after next week's reset, enemies will be able to drop weapons in there as well, and that's across all different modes. So a couple of changes there worth keeping in mind, and give us your experiences in Ghosts of the Deep and Ride of the Nine in general. Otherwise though, another mention, DMG confirmed armor from these dungeons will drop on a knockout system if you haven't previously earned them. So if you've already got full dungeon sets, you won't get any drops from Ride of the Nine, but if you don't have them, there is a knockout system which should enable players to pick up all of the armor pieces if it's their first times running the dungeon. So that's good clarification to have as well. Otherwise, as we look towards Edge of Fate and the next major update coming to Destiny 2, the D2 team actually tease a change for Hierarchy of Needs. So they say it's looking pretty fun in the Edge of Fate as it'll be getting a tuning pass, and let's talk about that in a future twit. So at least a teaser right there. Hierarchy of Needs is actually a pretty good niche weapon already, but there's certainly scope to improve it, so I look forward to that, and if you haven't earned it previously, I'd say it's going to be worth picking up before the next expansion. And of course, we do get those occasional quests in Ride of the Nine that have an additional exotic drop from these dungeons, so that might help players if it comes back up to grab Hierarchy of Needs in a future week. They also tease though, there are going to be more changes to eager edge tracking in Edge of Fate as well. We don't know the specifics of these yet, but DMG indicated it on X, so it will be another element that we'll see in the near future, and Bungie have said throughout later in May, and especially in June, there'll be a lot of previews for Edge of Fate, sandbox tuning, system updates and all that good stuff, so keep it locked and loaded here on the channel, and I'll keep you posted when we start getting those details. When it comes to the Crucible rotation though, and the calendar for Crucible events, Bungie have said this doesn't include weekly playlists, but starting from this week, of course, we've got Iron Banner with the new Scout Rifle, then on May 30th, June 6th, and June 13th, there'll be 3 uninterrupted weekends of Trials of Osiris, then on June 17th, we'll get the final week of Iron Banner for Heresy, and again, June 27th, July 4th, and July 11th, there'll be 3 uninterrupted weekends of Trials, with Edge of Fate, of course, dropping on July 15th. The one thing they leave out there is heavy metal, so Bungie never specifically said how long the event would last before it actually went live last week, but they additionally haven't clarified if it will come back before Edge of Fate, so we'll just have to wait and see. Separate thing related to Trials, DMG did highlight Bungie have fixed the glow on the Trials ship and Sparrow, so if you've earned those rewards previously, if you care about your glow and fashion game in general, those glows are now fixed. Moving on though, we'll speak about Destiny Rising very briefly right here. Yesterday, we got a new trailer for the game. It actually consisted of a bunch of shots from the original announcement trailer, but also a whole host of new gameplay, ability, characters, and locations that we'll visit. So overall, it's a reasonably impressive trailer. But in terms of when players will get more information about it, apparently a closed beta test will be announced at some point today. So if you're curious about actually having the opportunity to play the game itself, that information will be coming very soon, and they've also said that the game's App Store pre-order page will also go live, so at some point today, pre-orders as well as that info about the beta is going to drop. I know Destiny Rising isn't something that absolutely all Destiny players are excited for, but there's definitely some interest from the community, so keep an eye out for more information about that dropping soon. The final mention for today, though, is linked to Marathon and the recent drama that Bungie have had surrounding the stolen art assets thing that kicked off last week. So I'm sure the vast majority of you know about this, but an artist called Anti-Real on X shared that a bunch of bits of graphic design and assets they produced back in 2017 actually made it into Marathon. Bungie didn't ask to use them, they also didn't credit the artist, so essentially, these assets were stolen, which has landed Bungie in a whole heap of trouble. Arguably, it's landed Marathon specifically in even more trouble. And following all of that kicking off last week, Paul Tassi at Forbes has reported a few different things about stuff going on internally at Bungie, and he indicated from speaking to developers and previous developers that he knows that studio morale is in free fall following the mixed reception of the Marathon Alpha and the controversy around this whole art situation. And reportedly, staff at the studio are indicating that the vibes have never been worse there, between the uncertainty over Marathon's future, again surrounding the response to it in Alpha, and the whole plagiarism thing, where now Bungie are auditing the entire game to try and ascertain which assets have been taken without authorization, which is an entire process that they don't really want to be doing right now, given that the game is launching in a few months and there are numerous other things that they have to get right in that time. Paul Tassi also indicated, according to the game post, that there haven't been any official talks about delaying Marathon's September release, or at least that's not something that the studio as a whole are aware of. Potentially, those conversations are taking place in the background between upper management and indeed Sony. But other things have occurred in the past month or so as well, including that Bungie reportedly scrapped its original marketing plans for Marathon, where they were planning to release a new trailer and open up pre-orders for the game in June, as well as reporting and releasing information about the upcoming open beta. But before the plagiarism thing even started, apparently they totally went back on this plan and are reconsidering how to actually approach it. So obviously, marketing for a game that's coming up in just 3 or 4 months is a pretty big deal right now. If they're scrapping those plans for June, it means they're reconsidering how they actually market the game, and that also could be an indication that there's even a consideration of a delay internally at the studio. Either way, Bungie have decided that the entire marketing campaign for it needs to actually be reworked. Plus, there are further indications that the beta phase, which was reportedly going to drop in August, is also being reconsidered, and potentially moving away from a single beta event to instead offer a roadmap of public playtests for the game. And there's also a lot of conversation about internal struggles, toxicity within the company, and even Marathon developers who've been telling higher-ups at Bungie that the direction of the game overall doesn't seem to be correct. And that includes conversations around having more of a PvE component to the game, who the actual target audience is, and essentially the experienced Bungie devs at the studio have been indicating these concerns for some time, but reportedly, management are not paying a lot of attention and are instead trying to get Marathon out the door. So this is a classic situation of all of the folks on the ground actually trying to pull their weight and make this thing work. Even they've identified that Marathon has significant flaws, the concept itself is problematic, and that Bungie should have been opening up other elements of this project way before what they have now to try and broaden the appeal. Basically, it looks like most of the devs at Bungie have wanted to make something better than the version of Marathon we have at the moment, but the commercial component and the crunch component is essentially limiting that design capability because Bungie management are trying to get the game out the door as soon as possible. Obviously, that is partially to please Sony. So between this and the whole art plagiarism thing, I'm sure there's a lot of frustration amongst Bungie devs at the minute, because we should keep in mind most of the people at Bungie want to make good video games that we all enjoy, right? None of them want to throw something out the gate that's just going to be criticized and flop. That's not really why people go into game design, right? But there's a big conflict of interest between even what experienced staff who know these games inside out are saying and what the management want them to do, which has ultimately led us to a position where we are now, outside of the whole plagiarism issue. I think it's certainly the case that Marathon kind of looks like the minimum viable product as it currently stands. No doubt though, the whole conversation around plagiarism, the future of Marathon, Bungie's plans in the near future, we're definitely going to hear a lot more about it pretty soon, I would imagine, so I'll keep you posted when that happens. For the moment, give us your thoughts in the comments section, and if you found today's video interesting, a rating really does help us out as well. Additionally, get subscribed, hit the notification bell, and I'll keep you up to date with all the drama, future content previews, and hopefully at least some positives on the Destiny front in the near future. For today though, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys very soon.